introduce Sir, a distinguished figure in the field of homeopathy. Sir's remarkable career spans decades of excellence in practice, teaching, research, and authorship, making him a celebrated name both in India and internationally. Sir has made significant contributions to homeopathic literature by being author of two homeopathic postology, body language, and homeopathy, to name a few. His works, comprising over 100 publications, have been translated into numerous languages, and he's been honored with several prestigious awards. His dedication to advancing homeopathy, coupled with his ability to communicate complex ideas with clarity, has made him an inspiration to practitioners and students alike. It's an honor to have Sir here with us today. Let us welcome him with a warm round of applause.
So happy to be with you. I hope you are not sleeping. A wonderful presentation has awakened everyone from the previous speaker. I'm here to give you some concepts about behavioral problems that developed with Israeli family members when the war began. My international career began with Israel from 2003 onwards, and I was the one amongst 10 homeopaths who treated several cases during the war. I'm presenting two of them. If time permits, second, otherwise I will go with the one only. Yeah. 30-year-old female. I will not read the slide, you have to just read it. I will just give a gist of this because we have no time. Oh, 20 minutes for me. Okay, the situation you see. Before her, two relatives succumbed. Just the missile came, finish. Then you have the dreams. Terrified situation, terrorist attack, I am dying in a rocket blast, rockets are here and there, and death of the parents. She is ruminating over this. This is the concept in psychology called as cognitive immobility. The patient is totally stuck in the emotions. The life is totally overwhelmed by the situation, cannot think at all. Daily insomnia in the dreams, afraid to sleep and to see those dreams again. See the situation. Person is not sleeping and constantly the terrifying situation. Nothing more in the physicals. Now the patient described in an elaborating way. Exactly this is the third day after the war began. You know, 1250 people were killed. More than 400 people were kept hostage. And she is a witness to what happened. So, the relatives were just about to step out when the rocket struck the vehicle. I watched in utter helplessness as all two of them perished before my eyes. The shock immobilized me, and someone eventually brought me back inside the apartment. So what is the difference between elements from shock and elements from fright? Shock is something deeper. It goes deep, penetratingly. It takes hold of the system. And it is very difficult to remove it. The human being's capacity to cope up with it, very poor. Then you need a lot of devices to go ahead, including the law of stimulus medicine. So the patient says, many questions are tormenting in my mind, why I was spared. You see the situation. The mind thinks, why my relatives, my parents, my sister, she died, why not me? These are all expressions very individualistic of an individual. Don't focus on now elements from fright, elements from shock. What exactly happened to an individual afterwards and how the internal dispositions are brought out on the screen. That's the remedy. There is a principle in psychology called the hero principle. H means happening. R means you see response. E means evaluation. R means response and O means outcome. This is a very important hero principle of data processing for homeopathy. Many homeopaths are stuck in the happening. The remedy is not in the happening. The remedy is in all three further processes: evaluation, response, and the outcome. And the outcome is very individualistic, from person to person differing, based on the weak dispositional characters, the original personality structure, and many of these dispositional characters are being ignited, are being stimulated, and you see the cluster of data on the screen. Sadness overwhelms. I find myself crying uncontrollably. I have become increasingly apathetic towards everyday tasks. So you get not only the fear but also depression. See, no emotion is solo or mono. Every emotion comes with many other emotions together. And thus personality itself is sick. So if you want to answer a question to the patient, why I am suffering? The best answer is you as a person, your personality itself is sickness. This is the concept of totality in homeopathy. Now, we belong to the cultural society. It's infuriating to see these individuals wreak havoc and destruction. How dare these mean people, the superior people like us? Now you get the idea. How the internal disposition character is coming onto the screen. To me, they are not human, they are all wild creatures destroying our world. My desire for justice runs deep and I harbor a strong urge to see them eliminated. I have stopped working, I unable to concentrate. Confusion, craziness, chaoticness. So her boyfriend, who was accompanying when I took this case on the webinar, on the Zoom, she has sunk into deep depression. Initially, she cried, and then crying spells have lessened. Insomnia has become a new issue. Weaker mood swings, criticism, intolerance, fury. Then she starts accusing everyone, including the boyfriend. Now the behavior has changed. Now the behavior is uncontrolled. The behavior is become chaotic. This internalization brings out that which is present with the personality, which is uniquely present but hidden. It's like you are born with some characters, but they were hidden. And something happens, you start showing them. Confusion. So elements from grief, elements from mental shock, fear of terror, thoughts tormenting, fear, death of indifference, hatred, cursing, sleeplessness, abrupt, chaotic, confusion of mind, fear, dreams of terrible, mood changeable, and dreams of the war. Something common, something uncommon. Something unique. She was totally a very different person before this incident. Very normal, very independent, very reasonable, a rationalizer. She is opposite. So we have the sulfur, naxformic, arsenic, pulsatile, natronamide, phosphorus, nitric acid, opium, platinum, causticum, rustox. Yes. To select a remedy immediately on the basis of the repertory is difficult. Difficult because you should not go by the quantity of which and the remedies also. You need to define what you want to treat in this case. The treatment in this case must be focused upon what exactly is happening to her as an individual. She expresses now at one extreme, I am superior, and how these non-superior people are disturbing the advanced cultured society which we possess. Then comes her anger, then comes her craziness, then comes her hysterical behavior of crying. She, even in the interview, was crying. So we have to make the totality of all of this, and the remedy that came out was platinum and single dose. This is not arsenic, this is not aquanite, this is not stapes aureus. Stapes aureus, okay, anger, wrath, you explode it out. This is something where you find the superiority coming up. Then the contemptuous behavior comes up. Then desire to eliminate these people means desire to kill comes up. And then combining all these features together, the remedy is platinum. We have the follow-up of this remedy. Every 2 weeks, 1 m single dose. There are a lot of follow-ups, at least 8 to 10 follow-ups. I can't give you all of them. And thus, with a single dose of platinum and more 3-4 doses, she responded very nicely. This case was being discussed at length. I'm sorry I can't give you all the details of platinum reasons, but okay for you. Then the second case, patient with pregnancy and the husband serves in the military during war. In Israel, everyone up to the age of 60 years must be in the army. You cannot give reasons that I will not go unless there is an emergency and a real mental and physical problem. 20-year-old woman, second trimester. The husband is currently deployed overseas in a mission. This is her first pregnancy. Now, great depression since the war. Constant feeling that something bad will happen. When a discussion over a war occurs, she goes on talking incessantly. What will happen to my husband? You try to visualize the picture in a family. Then you will understand the depth what is happening. I treated more than 30 cases. Still I am treating. Thousands of people died. Every family disturbed. Still these people came, 15 people to learn from me at Pune. 3-4 months back. You see, their willpower. So you have physical symptoms, morning sickness, very common, not very important. Episodes of heartburn and indigestion. Feels exceptionally tired and lacking energy, especially in the afternoons. Pain in the lumbar region extending to the whole body since pregnancy. Feels pressure and heaviness in her pelvic region, particularly when standing or walking for extended periods. Now this war situation, husband is in the military, whether he will die, in which organ this feeling, this situation has entered into. So affinity and emotion. This is also a very interesting connection study in homeopathy. Loss of weight after grief is common with ambragresia. With phosphoric acid, the grief goes in the pancreas. In picric acid, it goes in the spine. With gelsemium, the same fear and grief can enter into lower limbs, causing lameness. So we have a very interesting anatomical affinity and the emotion. This study is also part of the totality. So insomnia, finding it difficult to fall asleep, this is a common feature after the situation with the war. Swelling of the hands, feet, ankle, then shortness of the breath. Okay, this is the repertorization. Talking incessantly, behavior chaotic, rationality of the mind, the loss of. Sometimes she doesn't understand what she is talking. Starts blaming everyone, starts you see talking about husband, and when she is unable to ring husband, she becomes more chaotic. Then she starts, you see, talking in pieces. You understand? She will talk for a few minutes on this subject, and after a few minutes she will talk on other subject. So the coherence of the mind is affected. Before you, like I say, CVC book, aquanite, pulsator, netramon, sulfur, naxomica, phosphorus, coculus indicus. Coculus is for the depressed state of the economy after loss of sleep. For coffee and naxomica, exactly opposite. They are more with erethistic response. Coffee is very well known for this. And in coffee, there is elements from guilt. So most of the time, the so-called overcrowded thoughts are related to the guilt complex in coffee. And our naxomica has this erethistic response because of the strychnine, which is a very important agitator of the central nervous system. So study of this case, very interesting now, Semisipoga. Yeah. Semisipoga, you must have been knowing, after delivery, puerperal psychosis. So there are some rats below the table wandering here and there. Psychosis is showing to you the shadow life of a different character. You know, my body and my shadow must speak the same language. In psychosis, this new language of the shadow doesn't match with this language of the living. This is a fragmented approach, fragmented personality. Schizophrenia, psychosis are nothing but split personalities. So you lose the coherence at the level of thinking, feeling and acting. CVC Puga is a wonderful remedy, not only for peripheral psychosis, but for depression, but for many kinds of the emotional feelings and the trauma that enter especially in the musculoskeletal system, and moreover in the reproductive system and in the neck region. And today neck has become very vulnerable due to constant sitting and stress, where our muscles are unable to tolerate for long, and muscles of the shoulders are related more to the responsibility. I took the responsibility of my family on my shoulders. So the symbolic language of the shoulders is related to responsibility. So Semisi Buga 3 times every day for 4 days. 80% relief in gastric complaints, energy level increase, good sleep better than before. Semisi Buga 200 to be continued once every day for 4 days. And then a gap of few days, let us see the effect of this. We followed this case for almost 2 to 3 months. And within a span of 2 months, almost all our symptoms disappeared. Now, the remedy appears on the screen out of repertorization. You were well pushed to see now how you can compare this chart, this filter in a far better way. Don't jump to the conclusion, first, second, third remedy, because it is more quantitative is coming up. The sulfur you will go on giving every time. The remedy is present, and the remedy may be outside of this chart also. How many minutes we have? 5 minutes. you have any question to me? Yes, yes. Very nice. I already wrote a chapter in my Harmony and Totality book on guilt. Guilt is a very strong negative emotion. Therefore, when the guilt becomes pathological, it becomes tubercular and syphilitic malignity. Guilt of chronic psychotic character is more stuck, but it doesn't cause any exacerbations of the illnesses. Guilt, when it becomes negative, the first group of the remedy that comes forward is Aram group. And heart is always related to two things, love and guilt. Anxiety and fears, you see, springs from the heart element. Even a simple palpitation will cause a fear. But that is a secondary result of this, remember. So two emotions are very important to relate to the heart. And therefore, Aram group comes up very well. In the Aram group, Aram metallicum, the met, which is original gold, this is more structured in the heart. And therefore you see more grief and guilt together. And in clinical practice, it is very important to see whether patient is suffering from guilt, therefore grief, or grief associated with a small amount of guilt. This is very important. You have to ask therefore these questions. Let us take Kali bromatum. All bromatums have the theme of guilt. But in Kali bromatum, it is very, very deep. This is basically because you are connecting to the potassium, which is very responsible, very deeper acting, one strong halogen, that is bromatum. Now what is bromatum? It is like iodine. You see, out of these four, chlorine and bromium, iridium and all these things, you will always see that this concept of the brome makes the system more moving, like iodine. This is the reason why the mind is disturbed, leading to the delusions. So in Kali family group, you will find Kali brome has much delusions, because you see a coherence being lost and patient has a fragmentation in many areas possible. So you lose the reality of the life. This is Kali bromatum. And at one level, there is idealism, the Kali idealism. I have to be responsible. I have to be idealistic. But the fragmentation occurs basically because of the bromium. And I have a very strong opinion about Kali brome, that bromium dominates over potassium. The same you are able to see in Kali sulf, in Kali iodine. So Kali bromatum, now where it goes in the mind and causing split personality. This is Kali bromatum. And insanity, therefore insanity. So Kali brome is a wonderful remedy when one has confronted the guilt and the mind is disturbed. Now let us take a very simple example of Natrum muriaticum. Natrum mur is also a remedy of grief. But because disappointment in love is the cause, totally there is an overshadow of the complex of guilt and grief in Natrum muriaticum. You open the rubric guilt, you will find Natrum muriaticum present. Why this comes up? I invested so much energy in a boyfriend or a girlfriend. While I was pouring my energy, I didn't think of anything. It is just like water, no? Water flows as per the low resistance. So when loving as a process is going on, it is so deep without any obstacle, without any resistance. So the person becomes so immersed in water, and the same natrum is coming from the sea water. So the more you are immersed, more it is difficult to come out. So in Natrum muriaticum, often I am responsible for break in the relationship. That pinch is also part of the Natrum mur. So don't only think someone hurt me. Yeah, someone hurt me, someone hurt me. then what happened to an individual after being hurt? So you will find a lot of remedies come out with their distinct personality characters, distinct physical complaints. You know, I have written a big article on diabetes, and in my study I found that the language of the pancreas is related to the love. I studied 269 cases of diabetes, and I found that in one way or the other, the concept of love is always disturbed. The parents have so much love inside to offer to the children, to the grandchildren, but nobody is available. So the love, the sweet feeling remains unused, like sugar in the bowl. Someone has huge love, but there is a disappointment. The other person is not loving. So diabetes and love is a very serious study in psychology today. And 50 lakh people daily suffer from diabetes. And you see what is happening to the love as a concept today with this civilized world. Yes, type 1 is a little bit different. But there are some cases, I have 2 cases where divorce occurred and the child suffered from diabetes 1. And what is divorce for a child? You are deprived of the love. So love is like a nucleus, and in the periphery you have all the other emotions also.
So, grief and guilt.
Yes.
Grief and guilt.
Yes.
Guilt is a term which Hahnemann has thought over a lot over this while giving concept of the miasm, that guilt, which gave rise to syphilitic miasm, which gave rise to psychotic miasm, and Sora, this is hypo. There was not much of a guilt. So I just want, sir, you are two experienced persons, just please enlighten the grief and guilt.
I will tell you.
Just different.
The first thing is everyone is born with all the emotions. Second sentence is everyone is born with all the miasms. So these are central to understand the question, and then the answer can come up. The third thing, it is not an emotion which is important. It is the degree and level of emotion which is important. After, and that also in degree and level. So guilt, you see, everyone feels guilt, no, in one way or the other. But we forget it. This is soric grief, soric guilt. Now this grief becomes crystallized. It accumulates, it stagnates. You start thinking over it. This is psychosis. In the tubercular miasm, the erratic pattern allows you to behave on the background of the guilt in a very violent way, erroneous way, irrational way, sudden abrupt way. Then when you go from this to the destructive phase, the guilt becomes syphilitic. Therefore, guilt means syphilitic is wrong. We have to define it on the background of the degree and level. It is like anger, no? Everyone boils in his life at different degrees. So the degrees show you the mathematic preponderance. And to understand the difference between grief, grief may be without guilt, because you are not involved. But the human mind is very complex. Because of the attachment, even though the accident occurs, mother has no any role to play in the accident. She is at home, the child is on the road, someone dies the child in the hospital. Mother starts feeling, how I allow the child to be on the road. Child is daily going on the road. So invitation of the guilt because of attachment is very common with the human behavior. Now our job was to see the degree and level. In this degree and level, you have to define about emotion about two things: intensity and consistency. Study of the mind must be at these two levels. What is the intensity? And second, what is the consistency? In the consistency, you define the dispositional character. The same described by Hahnemann. In this way, every emotion can be better categorized under 4 divisions of the miasm. And it is possible every disease under the sun can also be group categorized very well if you know the language of the miasm based on energy pattern, based on activity pattern, based on stages pattern. So when I am talking with you, lightning pains, since I am feeling grief, there is a lightning pain in my head. What do you want to say about this? Do you know? The energy is now going for electrical form of the energy. So the lightning words comes up. So we have at least 15 types of energy patterns described in physics and chemistry. Our body represents the universe. So it represents all the energy forms together. In Parkinsonism, electrical energy. Let us study depression. This is a potential energy which becomes stuck. Mechanical energy which becomes stuck. In ADHD, we are discussing this is a kinetic energy, relentless, so that everyone is exhausted except the child. So the forms of the energy and its manifestation at the mathematical level, at the pathology level, at the mind level, this is a very serious study for me. I am working on this project now, how I can describe all these issues together. So I thank you all for calling me here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajit Kulkarni sir, for such a lucid explanation of the psychodynamics of each case.